This one's for all you patriots out there. I'm talking about the real men, the God-fearing patriots. You know who you are. Built Ford tough. I drive a lifted truck. Check my cheek, you'll always find a little bit of snuff. Never swim in the buff. I always keep my shirt on. At times when I'm alone, I like to put a skirt on. Drive down to GNC, the cashier seeing me. She can't see past my needs, so I'm gonna get my flirt on. My pants are getting dense. Let me build up the suspense. Can I please get your number and 2 packs of Extends? I'm a country boy. I'll crush a can. I'm a snowflake man. Yeah. I'm a snowflake man. The day I die. Yeah. Thank God it's overcast, cause I'm melting fast. Safe space on fire so I don't get harassed. I'm a snowflake man. Yeah. I'm a snowflake man. You know I am. Walking in my Wranglers down an old country highway. See a black man and I think he's headed my way. Don't know what to do. I guess I'll ad lib. So I cross the street. Don't like the cut of his jib. Now online I like to chatter, but my words don't really matter. The back of my lift it says Black Lives Matter. My buddies think that's funny. We like to waste our money on stupid shit that proves we start to melt when it gets sunny. I'm a country boy. I'll crush a can. I'm a snowflake man. Yeah. I'm a snowflake man. Yeah. Thank God it's overcast, cause I'm melting fast. Safe space on far so I don't get harassed. I'm a snowflake man. Yeah. I'm a snowflake man. Country music. I'm just a God-fearing patriot. I put guns and profile pics and then make fake accounts on Facebook and make death threats behind them. And their name is Jesus. I'm a country boy. I'll crush a can. I'm a snowflake man. Till the day I die. Yeah. I'm a snowflake man. Yeah. I'm a snowflake man. And you know I am. I'm a patriot. Keep a gun in my lifted truck and a pack of Extends in the glove box next to my extra small condoms.
What's up, everybody? Thanks for joining. That was an original song called Snowflake Man. I made a whole couple albums of fake parody country music a while back to get some frustrations out. Yeah, so I'm live. I'm just hoping to see if there are any Republicans who want to have a conversation with me. You should be able to request to join the live, and you don't have to be a Trump supporter, but as long as you're 18 and older and a Republican American, I would like to just have a discussion with you. And it doesn't have to be like a debate where we're trying to dunk on each other. I just know there's a big subsection of people who are Republicans who don't support Donald Trump, and I'm hoping to see if I can talk to some of those people. But yeah, in the meantime, maybe we can talk about the meeting that Donald Trump had with Putin in Alaska, even though he called it Russia, which was wild. But it really appeared that Donald Trump looked extremely weak from that meeting. Just all the body language, the way Putin was clearly annoyed with him while Trump was speaking and then cleared his throat to get him to shut up. And then I love seeing that comparison of the photo of Trump shaking Putin's hand and Trump looks really distressed, and then the image of Obama not shaking Putin's hand, but staring him down. I mean, there's one president there who knows how to deal with an evil dictator, and the other one who's obviously capitulating for him. And, Mr. Taco President. Trump always chickens out. And I also saw today that he was asked by a reporter, are U.S. troops going to basically be joining Russia's side in the fight against Ukraine? And this motherfucker basically said maybe. Yeah, so like what fucking side is America on? Since when did America become, friends with Russia? I mean, World War II, Russia helped fight the Nazis, right? And then we had the Cold War, and then like every movie ever since, Russia's been the bad guys to America. And all of a sudden, Trump, Mr. Krasnov, comes along, and now we're inviting Vladimir Putin onto U.S. soil to shake his hand and tell Ukraine that they're not going to be allowed to join NATO and that they're not going to get Crimea back. No, it's just insane. It's just so insane. Locally, so I live in Shasta County, California. There was an interesting thing that recently happened. We had a whole bunch of elections drama the past few years because of Trump's bullshit from 2020. A bunch of people here in Shasta County really, really jumped on that bandwagon hard, and they forced our registrar of voters out of her position by basically berating her nonstop, continuously, and stressing her out that they gave her, heart problems. This is great. This is Mark again. Says GAY hat. I'm glad the hat pisses you off. That's excellent. That's great. Why don't you join the live and maybe tell me how much my hat pisses you off? We can talk about it. Yeah? Anyways, they got rid of her, and then the assistant registrar of voters had already been working in the position for 14 years. Very qualified person, very intelligent, very just really nice person. I've met her several times. And so instead of appointing her to be the new registrar of voters, the board majority, who is very influenced by MAGA, hired some guy from Florida, of all places, who claims he's a Democrat, but he's part of the whole group of people that is really pushing all of the Trump's 2020 big lie stuff. Like, our county literally has direct connections to Tina Peters, that MAGA county clerk in Colorado that is still in prison and got a 9-year prison sentence for interfering in the Colorado elections. And people here in our county are directly connected with her, and I personally believe that Clint Curtis is too. And so we had a recent board meeting, so they appointed him. They skipped over the much more qualified woman, and they appointed this guy. And what he's wanting to do right now, he brought it to our last Board of Supervisors meeting, and he had this idea where they should move the entirety of the elections office across town to an old Joann's Fabrics building, right? And his main point that he was trying to sell the Board of Supervisors on, so they'd approve the money to give him to do this plan, was they want to install all these super high definition live streaming, 4K plus security cameras, for transparency, like an idea that would have never been brought forward. Hello, somebody there? Can you hear me?
Nigger.
Oh my God. Okay. What a pathetic person. Anyways, back to another pathetic person. This guy trying to get like $2 million from our county to install these surveillance cameras that wouldn't be asked for if the big lie in 2020 never happened. And this guy, you can Google him. His name is Clint Curtis. He's a public figure, Clint Curtis from Florida. And literally on his Google profile, he has himself listed as a computer programmer. So he goes up to our Shasta County Board of Supervisors, our board, and with his whole chest says that he wants to install all these high definition security cameras that will live stream to the public so people can have transparency. But he said he doesn't even need to do it with wires, and that he can just do it with OBS because OBS emits a Wi-Fi signal. So if you've ever streamed like from your computer or made video content, you probably know what OBS is. It's a computer program. Computer programs can't emit a Wi-Fi signal. You would need a computer running OBS, the program OBS, to then connect these cameras to. But if you've also done streaming, you would know that even if you have a pretty decent computer, it takes a lot of computing power to successfully, without a bunch of glitches and lag, run like even like a 4K webcam, just one of them. And this guy doesn't even understand the amount of computers or the type of computer you would need to run all these high definition cameras. And the reason I wanted to point that out is because this dude was chosen based off of what people thought his level of technological prowess is, like how much knowledge he had on technology and things like that. And a bunch of these like local boomers really bought what he was selling. And then he goes up to a board meeting and basically completely proves that he doesn't even know or understand some pretty basic things about technology. And that's now the guy that's going to be in charge of running our next election. Yeah, so that's frustrating, and they're really trying to double down and wagon wheel back to the whole 2020 big lie thing again. Trump's talking about it again, trying to say that he wants to completely eliminate mail-in ballots because that's how Democrats win. So, like, what kind of president literally says that they want to eliminate a way for half of the country's constituents to be able to have their votes counted? That's not democracy. That's not a president. That's a dictator. That's absolutely a dictator. Lori says Clint is a fraud. He doesn't know anything. He really doesn't know anything. I was, not quite sure what he did or didn't know. I just knew that I didn't trust him. And then when he gave that speech at the board meeting, talking about how he can set up all these HD cameras without wires through a program emitting a Wi-Fi signal, I was like, what the hell? This is like extremely actually incompetent. Like freaking 10-year-olds know that you can't do that with OBS. And this guy's, I don't know, 50 something. So, and he also claims that he invented software to hack elections. Yeah, these are his claims. So he sold himself on the fact that, well, since I invented software that can hack elections, then I should be the best qualified person to stop other people from doing that. And our local bumpkins bought that, which is just absolutely ridiculous. So it wasn't approved at the last meeting, but I guess it's coming back at another meeting, and I may attend that meeting just to speak during public comment on this specific issue. It's not even really a political issue. I'm just trying to point out, hey, this guy that says he knows all this stuff about technology and he's this technological genius and this, advanced programmer who programmed software to hack elections doesn't know how basic programs on a computer work, and that you can't just live stream a bunch of super high definition government cameras the way he's proposing to do it. So he was full of it. Some programmer debunked that whole hacker thing. Of course. I mean, it's like, remember when Patrick Jones, our former county supervisor Patrick Jones, who lost in a complete fucking landslide, said that he used to be a hacker in the 80s? We're like, what? Oh my God. Even if that were true, every standard of programming, which is hacking is programming, every standard of that has now changed. Every platform, whatever he was able to do in the 80s doesn't even fucking exist anymore. And it's so frustrating because all of the counter voices, like the voices that support this Clint Curtis person, don't understand technology either. They don't understand the most basic things about technology either. So it's really easy for them to believe his bullshit. So that's frustrating. Let's see. So did Zelensky wear the suit to the White House? Because I keep seeing stuff like where he just defied what Trump was trying to tell him to do and wear a suit. And then I don't think he wore a suit. That's a disturbing headline. Trump privately dismissed Epstein victims as Democrats. Are you kidding me? See, this is wild. This is one of the most wild things that Trump has done to this country and that his supporters have done too and allowed to happen is they literally see just anybody being a Democrat as like an actually evil person when that's like half the country. You know, we have a two-party system, Republicans and Democrats. He has completely demonized an entire side of the country to the point where that term Democrat is just literally interchanged out for actually horrible words like PDF file or, you know, something like that. Or, you know, saying that the Epstein victims are Democrats so that his base will be like, oh, well, then that's okay. You know, it's so fucking like I don't just demonize the entirety of the Republican Party, and I never have. In fact, that's why I'm trying to talk to the just I would say more normal Republicans because I know for a fact that a lot of us still have a lot more in common. But you got to understand, MAGA is just the parasite that it has taken over their party, and so when Republicans speak out against like Trump or what Trump's doing or the MAGA ideologies and be like, hey, this isn't really what conservative values is, guys, right? The other ones will just go, shut the hell up, Rhino. You know, that's like the N word for Republicans. And so they don't, you know, they don't want to step out of that box. But I know a lot of them have, you know, things to say. And I'm hoping that if maybe people like that are Republicans can join in calls with me or something, and we can just have discussions where they don't have to fully identify themselves or anything like that, then maybe they could say some of that truth that they're like afraid to say publicly for fear of not of retaliation from the left, but of retaliation from their own people, from their own side, from MAGA, because that is absolutely a fact. I've watched it happen so much here locally in Shasta County is when any Republican does what I would consider the actual right thing, the shittiest of the shitty MAGAs start calling them rhinos and liberals and fake Republicans and traitors and all this stuff. It's like literally a hallmark. It's like a hallmark behavior of what cults do, you know? It's literally a cult. And if you're not culty enough, then they treat you as bad, if not worse, than the left, you know? So, yeah, if you are 18 and older and you are a Republican, doesn't mean you have to support Trump. But if you're willing to just have a conversation with a Democrat, we can talk about stuff going on in the country. You can pick the subject. I think that would be a good starting place to just get some discussion out there. Unless you want to be like that one jerk that just calls in and says the N word, but that shit's, you're not going to faze me with any of that, by the way. You're not going to faze me with any of that. So, yeah, 18 plus Republican, want to have a conversation with a Democrat, hit the join call button. Let's have a conversation. Unless you're scared. Okay. Obama, Biden, and Clinton criminal investigations are most likely approaching, Trump ally says. Of course they are. So much to distract from the Epstein files. Speaking of the Epstein files, I like sharing this on stream when I go live. There's so much information about the Epstein files, right? You can go on Reddit, you can go on, Twitter, you can go on Blue Sky, and you see all this different information, but it's also scattered everywhere. A lot of it, you're not quite sure what the actual source is. Invites me to co-host. Why not? Invites me to co-host. Why not? What does that mean? Looks like someone's loading in. No? Okay, disconnected. All right, well, never mind. Yeah, so anyways, all the Epstein stuff scattered everywhere. And I built a website, totally free website. You don't have to sign up. You can't comment. There's no information, personal information that you have to give. It's just basically a blog. It's pdffpr.com, and I've just spent like 2 months now trying to compile all this information along with the sources and put it all into one place so that people can just go there. There's no ads, like it's literally just a free website I made, just a resource to track all this information, as well as track the people who are publicly protecting the Epstein files. Do you ever listen to Hassan Piker? I mean, not a whole lot. I listen to, who do I like? I like Mehdi Hassan. He's really good. I like Dean and Parker. I think Parker's probably my favorite of this sort of younger generation of master debaters, as South Park would call them. I never watch like people like Charlie Kirk or the like Tim Pool, because that's just complete brain rot. All they're doing is spouting hate and propaganda. But it is pretty cool to watch, like these younger debaters like Parker and Dean, and I like Destiny. There's some stuff Destiny says that I'm not necessarily a fan of, but he is really good at debating, and I think his overall positions on most things are correct. Maybe he could be a little nicer sometimes, but he is who he is, and people are pretty darn afraid to debate him, and I think that's for good reason. But I'd have to say the actual best debater out of all of them, like even objectively the ones I've seen on the right, that they may be good at debating, their talking points are horrible. I think Mehdi Hassan is the best one. He just comes with the facts. It's crazy. Righteous Tater, nice. I'm going to check it out. Yeah, pdffpr.com. Just as much of this Epstein information that you just see scattered everywhere, just all in one place. Trump's passing a new policy called Trump Rule 34. It's absolutely wild. It's getting serious. Is that real? Is that a joke? Because I know what Rule 34 is. Are you making a joke, or is that actually real? I don't want to Google this. Rule 34. I think you're full of shit. I know what Rule 34 is, alright? If it exists, there is porn of it. But I was just wondering if you weren't lying, because this MAGA Republican Party is so ridiculous that I don't even put anything past them, so. Hassan with facts? That's insane you said that. Mehdi Hassan? I said Mehdi Hassan. Not Hassan Piker. I was talking about Mehdi Hassan. Anna L. Sharma, thanks for joining. Oh, thank God. Yeah. Yeah, no, Mehdi Hassan. That's the one who comes with facts. If you're 18 plus, Republican, don't have to be a... Oh, thanks for the potato, I think that was. Don't have to be a Trump supporter, but if you're an 18 plus American Republican and you want to have a conversation with a Democrat, you can ask to join the live, and you can pick the subject, as long as it's something to do with what the current administration is doing and how it's affecting our country. That's what I'm looking for. I would also be live on YouTube today, but I was waiting on a pair of headphones to come in the mail. They just haven't showed up yet, so I can't go live on YouTube yet without the headphones. What's up, Shannon Turner, Eddie, Christopher Stev, Amy Calvin. Did you see Trump's crazy... Oh my God, he had the most ridiculous meltdown today. I'm gonna see if I can find it. Oh, here it is. Yeah. This is Trump's ridiculous tweet about getting rid of mail-in ballots, just publicly and loudly announcing that he wants to cheat in the elections, which is so wild. You know, when you think about it, his big lie from 2020 was convincing all these people, all these frickin' sheep, that the election was stolen from him, that evil Democrats are cheating in the elections and there's mass fraud happening from the Democrats. Well, just like everything else that Trump ever accuses anybody of ever, it was a projection. Every accusation is a confession or an aspiration, and Trump's whole the Democrats are cheating is basically the way he admits that he's fucking cheating. That's how Trump works. If he says Democrats did this, Obama did this, it means he did it. Okay? That's what that means. That's the formula of his fucking brain. So he says, I'm going to lead a movement to get rid of mail-in ballots, and also, while we're at it, highly inaccurate, very expensive, and seriously controversial voting machines, which cost 10 times more than accurate and sophisticated watermark paper, which is faster and leaves no doubt at the end of the evening as to who won and who lost the election. We are now the only country in the world that uses mail-in voting. That's completely fucking false. That is absolutely a complete fucking lie. All others gave it up because of the massive voter fraud encountered. Complete fucking lie. We will begin this effort, which will be strongly opposed by the Democrats because they cheat at levels never seen before, which will be strongly opposed because you're the fucking cheating. God, what an idiot. By signing an executive order to help bring honesty to the 2026 midterm elections. So he's trying to cheat in multiple ways. Get rid of mail-in ballots because he thinks that that'll make it so less Democrats can vote. And then also gerrymander the shit out of Texas, to the point where California has to respond. It's so, this fucking guy. We will begin this effort, which will be strongly opposed by the Democrats, blah, 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 by signing executive order. Remember, the states are merely an agent for the federal government in counting and tabulating the votes. They must do what the federal government, as represented by the President of the United States, tells them for the good of our country to do. So is that not insane? The President of the United States, who's in charge of the federal government, is basically saying, now states don't have rights. The people that are going to support this, the MAGA crowd, and I can name 50 locals who are going to jump behind this, are the same people that were so upset about COVID and saying that it should go down to states' rights, or that Roe v. Wade should be states' rights. But when it comes to elections, Trump's saying, nope, I call all the shots. As if that's not the most fucking corrupt thing the person in power could ever do. And these fucking sheep are just going to get behind him because they're not actually patriots. They don't actually believe in democracy. It doesn't matter what they say their reason is, right? It doesn't matter if they're like, oh, I voted for Trump because of I'm a fiscal conservative, I voted for Trump because of my rights. I voted for Trump because of the economy. I voted for Trump because of his immigration policy. I am inclined to believe at this point that all of that's complete bullshit because they'll just move the goalposts on every single one of those things whenever they feel like it. And the only actual real reason why someone like 555 in the chat here with his little fucking American flag is because you're bigots. You're racist and you're bigots. And you want a white America, and that's it. Hey, 555, why don't you request to join, and you can talk to me. We can have a little discussion or debate here, unless you're too fucking chicken shit. You too chicken shit to join the live and talk to me? Come on, you coward. Come on, join the live and talk to me, 555, you fucking coward. Do it. I dare you. I dare you to have a discussion with me. You fucking won't. Of course you won't. Do it, Snowflake. Come on. Yeah, you won't. You won't. You people just you hide behind your little fake profile pics and anonymous names, and you talk all the little crap because you're nothing but little keyboard warriors. But here you have the opportunity right now to come actually speak your mind to a lib, like you love to seem doing. So do it. Join the live and talk to me. Come on. Come on. Yeah, I knew you wouldn't. Knew you wouldn't. Anyways, back to what this orange idiot is telling the whole country. The idiot that you voted for, 555. With their horrible radical left policies like open borders, men playing in women's sports, that's not a policy, transgender and woke for everyone, those aren't policies, and so much more. Democrats are virtually unelectable without using this completely disproven mail-in scam. So now it's a scam. Anything that allows Democrats to have the ability to just vote and have their vote counted is a scam to these people now. David Cotton. Hey, David Cotton, why don't you come join the live, man? Why don't you come talk to me, join the live, and have a conversation with me? I bet you won't. Thoughts on Israel? Well, I'm not anti-Semitic, but I'm definitely anti-genocide, and I believe that's exactly what Israel's doing to Palestine right now. So... a guest request. All right, truth hurts. Oh, canceled request. Well, oh man. Can't converse with extreme leftism. You know, you're just being a coward. You could try. You could try. You could just try. But you won't try because you guys are the party of actual snowflakes. Okay. Elections can never be honest with mail-in ballots voting, and everybody, in particular the Democrats, knows this. That's bullshit. I and the Republican Party will fight like hell. He's saying that again. See the dog whistle there? To bring honesty, integrity back to our elections. Bullshit. The mail-in ballot hoax using voting machines that are a complete and total disaster must end now. Remember, without fair and honest elections and strong and powerful borders, you don't have even a semblance of a country. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Donald J. Trump, pedophile of the United States of America. Okay, so he's just blatantly, publicly saying that he's going to cheat. What do you mean fake news? That's literally a tweet from Donald Trump. That's literally his own words right there. That's hilarious. My God, what happened to the brains of MAGA people? Like, seriously. Like, how did a group of people become so absolutely stupid? Can anybody explain that? Like, how did a group of people become so completely brain dead? Okay? Like, what is the deal there? I mean, I remember a time back before Trump when there was the right and the left, but we weren't like at each other's throats like this. And I remember a time when the Republican Party, instead of representing a bunch of snowflake incels who hide behind fake accounts on the internet and make death threats and follow ridiculous creators like Andrew Tate because women won't date them, so they become incels, and they just became so blatant with their racism. Before all that nonsense, they're like Republican men especially used to represent, like, at least in my mind, kind of like the cowboys, you know, like actual tough guys, like actual working men that, you know, weren't afraid to like treat a woman with respect or weren't afraid to stand up for someone else. Yeah, like a John McCain type of Republican. And then Donald Trump came along and like showed everybody, wow, a lot of the people who claim to be that side are actually the worst people on the planet. Everything is projection. Like you guys talking about in the very beginning, oh, fuck your feelings, snowflake, fuck your feelings, snowflake. And then it turns out that there's no bigger snowflakes on the planet than MAGA people. You guys cannot handle your feelings over anything. The slightest thing you simply don't like or understand just absolutely sets you off. Your last fucking two brain cells are just now fighting for third place, and everything is upsetting. Everything is scary to you. You can't handle it. Oh, do we have a guest request? Hello?
Hey, what's up?
How's it going? Are you
Pretty good.
18 plus?
Yes, sir.
All right. Are you a Republican?
No, I'm Democrat.
Okay.
I just wanted to join because you know how you were saying that, what happened to Republicans and stuff back in the day?
Hmm.
I myself am 36, so I've seen it, get crazy how it's been. I want to say that pretty much I think the left or the Democratic Party has been alienating the young single voters, men especially.
Hmm.
And I think a lot of that has to do with just how, inclusive the Democratic Party is and the libertarian side of the spectrum of politics.
Right.
That basically the attention is not on them as they wish it was. It's on other people that live alternative lifestyles,
Hmm.
women especially, a lot of that. So I think that men just have been feeling ignored for so long in the culture, especially online, that once Trump became, a front runner for the Democrats again, I mean the Republicans again, and after 2016, after Biden, they just said fuck it. I'm sorry, they just said screw it,
Yeah.
and they, you know, revenge voting basically.
Right. No, actually, I agree with you there with the Democrats' messaging and who they were really trying to reach. I think that I thought it was weird, and I know one of the big complaints that the people on the right love, to make about the swap out of Biden and Kamala. Um, that I don't think I'm ever going to fully agree with how that happened. But I think I even felt in the time, and I still feel like overall that Kamala would have actually ended up being a better president, like basically for a sense of viability. Um, I like the dynamic of her going against Trump, the actual felon, and her being the prosecutor. And I think a lot of people didn't take the time to go watch, her Senate hearings where she would, question people like Mark Zuckerberg or like Bill Barr, and she was very highly intelligent. And I think that is honestly one of the reasons why the right was so afraid of her right off the bat. That, and she's a black woman, of course. But the Democrats really, like you said, didn't do much to sort of pull in, like you said, that sort of young men voting block. Whereas people like Joe Rogan, and like Charlie Kirk and Andrew Tate and these people, that was kind of like who they really, really, really targeted. And so since those were the only, big names really trying to go after that voting block, the Democrats, I think, really just screwed up by not trying to go after everybody, by not doing like what you said and being more inclusive in their messaging, which is kind of ironic because the whole thing of Democrats are supposed to be the more inclusive ones, right? So I think it was a mistake that they weren't more inclusive.
I want to say that I have a lot of friends that are Democrats. A lot of them actually switched their voting from Democrats to Republicans this last election because of just how rigged they saw it, how they just replaced Kamala without, I know it's time wise, it's impossible to have everything and do it all over again, with the Democrats, especially because Biden dropped out last minute.
Right.
But I think that mainly switched. Three friends of mine that I have went Republican last election because of that,
Hmm.
because they felt like there was no counting, there was no lead up, there was no They just swapped him out.
Well,
They
he
didn't
had
realize.
that debate where he did very poorly, and I think it was very apparent to everyone that he was most likely having some sort of like health issues or cognitive decline or something like that. And they could have been more transparent with how they did this, and they had the DNC, and even when they swapped out uh, Biden for Kamala, Biden immediately endorsed Kamala himself. And then 80% of the Democrats also endorsed Kamala. So even though there was no primary election, it doesn't seem weird that if a president drops out of something or can't do something, who generally takes over? That'd be the vice president, and that's essentially, I think, what happened. And I think it was kind of like their only option because I don't believe that Biden was going to remain fit for the presidency at that point. And I think they just kind of had to scramble, you know.
No, I completely agree. But I mean, it was a known issue months before the campaign started that
Hmm.
Biden was having neurological issues. There were tapes all over the place on YouTube that basically showed, it wasn't he wasn't right in the head.
Right.
So it wasn't a last minute thing. But I just feel like it's just you know I want politics to be boring again.
Yeah, same. Yeah, that. That'd be great. Yeah, I remember when we cared about so many other things, and that like when my YouTube recommended wasn't just flooded with politics, and opening Reddit isn't just every single post is about politics. I remember a time where people just in general, we don't talk about politics or religion. People wouldn't really tell you whether they were a Democrat or a Republican, and now it's just like everybody's whole identity, is I'm either I'm this or this, and that's all people. It's like shoved into our faces constantly too, with like algorithms and social media. It's just funneled into our brains constantly, and I don't know. I wish we could sort of untangle that ball of yarn that is. It just gets bigger and bigger because I think this is. I would say this is more at fault from like Trump and the right wing news and things. Is there's always a new thing. Like even his own people have talked about flooding the zone is a tactic. Just a new thing every day, something new to care about, something new to distract constantly, and then we just forget about so much, and then it just adds another loop around the tangled ball of yarn, and then we just don't really remember everything that happened, and then it takes a while for people to actually allow themselves to go back and remember, something someone said or something that previously happened, because how are you supposed to learn from your history and like past situations or mistakes if the zone is just constantly being flooded, and then you can't, and then you forget, and then someone gets to get away with doing the same thing again because way too many people forgot about it. So I don't I don't know. I think really the only way is for people to just like have conversations, really, actually speak to people, even if it's people they disagree with, and not necessarily try to debate or change their entire mind, but just show people that disagree with each other that they're each like human beings, that they each actually do have certain things in common and each consider themselves Americans. There's still always going to be things that I think more Americans are going to have in common, but all we're doing is focusing on all the things we don't have in common constantly. So
I agree. Anyways, Nathan, you have a wonderful day and have a good stream, sir.
cool. Thank you very much. Thanks for joining. All right. I'm looking to speak to Republicans. If there's someone who is Republican, you don't have to be a Trump supporter. If you just want to hop on the stream here and have a conversation with, there's a cat butthole right there. Sorry, everybody. That's funny. Oh, it's coming back. It's coming back. Okay. All right. I requested, let's see, Chili Willy. Hello?
Hi there, how's it going?
Hey, how's it going? Are you 18 plus American and Republican?
Yeah, I'm 37.
All right, cool. Thanks for joining the live.
Absolutely. How's your day going?
It's going pretty good. Just like I said, I don't know if you how long you've been in the stream. My cat keeps walking in front of the camera. I'm a Democrat. I'm a leftist. Supported Kamala and Biden. But I've also grown up in a red county my entire life in Northern California. And so I've grown up with Republicans my whole life, and I still have a lot of friends that are Republican. And so I think if I could just have real conversations with Republicans, maybe we could just share our opinions on some things that this are happening in this country that are possibly being done in like because of the Donald Trump administration.
Yeah. I'll tell you, I'm not like diehard MAGA. I absolutely am a Trump supporter. I agree with what he's doing, and I voted for him in 16 and 20 and in this recent election. And yeah, if there's things he's doing I disagree with, there's a few things. He's a nutcase sometimes, but
Yeah,
that comes with the territory. I think most politicians, don't really have our best interest in mind. So
yeah.
they're all in it for the money, man.
I agree with that. Can I ask what was your main reason for voting for Trump in this last election? Like which policy or what did you want him to do that you wanted to support him?
So, I mean, it kind of started in 2016, honestly. I was just tired of the crap, man. I did not like, I think Obama did okay in his first term.
Mhm.
I did not like what he did in his second term. I work in the oil and gas industry. I have for the past 12 years. I was an automotive technician for 8 years before that.
Gotcha.
So I'm a knuckle busting blue collar worker, I'm middle class. So yeah, like I said, it kind of took, I'll tell you this honestly. I really don't care if it would be a Democrat or a Republican, as long as I can align with their views and their policies. And I think I could honestly tell you, I would vote for a Democrat if I was like, oh, this Republican's an idiot. You know what I mean? I don't agree with anything they want to do. They're out of line, that they don't align with what I want done, on my behalf as a citizen
Right.
of this country. And, but this most recent election, so I was never a fan of Kamala. I guess she did an okay job as a prosecutor. She had a, kind of an up and down career.
Mhm.
I'm not going to get into the nicks and crannies of things. I'm not going to throw out accusations about her. What's done is done.
Right.
But to be completely honest, the 4 years of Biden, dude, I was blown out, exhausted from it. Like, I was tired. The mandates, that right there, trying to force me to get vaccinated, dude. Like, no, I was actually singled out in my workplace, dude, because of OSHA. I had to wear a mask when other people didn't have to wear a mask. I had a different placard on my badge for work that identified me as being unvaccinated. My dad was forced to be vaccinated as a state worker. All these things, like, I just had fatigue from it, man. He was not cognitively there, and no one did anything about it. No one said anything about it. They acted like everything was hunky dory, everything was good in the hood. And then when Biden said it himself after the election that he still thought he could have beat Trump. And I'm just like, dude, like, what's done is done. Like, the election's over. The last minute change that they did with him dropping out.
Real quick, I'm sorry to interrupt. I don't want to skip over a part. The vaccines, since you brought up the vaccines and stuff. Maybe you might know a bit more on this than I do, but I mean, wasn't like Operation Warp Speed? Wasn't that something that Trump did
Yes.
to get those vaccines out there, first?
Yep, he did. But
Okay.
but he never would have mandated it, and he never did mandate it.
Right.
That takes away your freedom right there. Just telling somebody thou shall be vaccinated.
Did the federal government actually do the mandate though, or
Yep.
were individual entities
Nope.
deciding whether or not they were requiring it for whatever their purposes were, whatever? Like it wasn't
was-
like a federal mandate though, was it?
It was federal. It was federal. That's why military were discharged.
Okay.
So it was federal, and then the state picked it up. So California state workers were also mandated unless you had religious exemption.
Gotcha.
And even then, if someone filed for a religious exemption, they would dig deeper and make you, verify your religious exemption and why you have this religious exemption. And that right there was just, dude, that punched right in the throat. Like, I'm like, what in the frick are we doing here? You know what I mean? Like, if you want to get vaccinated, go. If you wanted it, if you did, good for you. I don't care if you did or not. It's just, don't force it.
What do you think? Okay, so say if someone just doesn't agree with someone telling them to put something in their body. I can understand that, like, if it bodily autonomy, all that stuff. If you don't want to put something into your body, I can see the argument for not wanting to do that and not being forced to do that. But then, like, how does society handle something like a global pandemic that is actually killing a lot of people without doing something that is like out of the norm to get that disease under control? Like, people that were upset with vaccinations, I can understand that part. That's like putting something into your body that you don't quite understand. But a lot of those people were also just as angry about simply having to wear a mask, and like, not like they have to wear a mask inside their own home or their car, just when they go out in public, so that the vaccine isn't transmitted easier, like for a sense of public safety, So I feel like it probably might have been more accepted by people on the left to get on board with that if people that were against vaccines weren't also just so against, like, wearing masks for helping the safety of others, or like social distancing. It was just like this blanket of, no, screw all this, we're not going to do any of it. And so I don't think that's a safe way for society to respond to something like a global pandemic it's going to just end up getting more people harmed or unalived, by the disease. I think that's my thinking on it.
Yeah. So I think we were just blindsided. I don't think that we were prepared for it. I don't think that, the vaccine, there's mixed emotions on it, right? People say it worked. People say it didn't work. I'm still not vaccinated. I had COVID probably two times for sure, that I actually swabbed myself for it. Yeah. I would say that, yeah, it was like similar to, for me, I was younger when I had it. I would say that it was probably like a bad cold or bad flu, but there were also other people that had pre-existing health conditions that, or unfortunately lost their lives to it. But there's a lot of data that wasn't out there at the time. They weren't set. Like, if you go and get swabbed for COVID today, they cannot definitively tell you the difference between the flu and COVID. So how the hell at that time were they telling us the difference between flu and COVID? And they also weren't putting flu in those statistics. Mm-hmm. So I think it was a huge grab from Big Pharma. I think that they made a shit ton of money. The rich got richer during that time.
Well, I got vaccinated, and I think I got 2 of the boosters, and I think I had COVID a total of 3 times. And I've had the flu before. It was definitely quite a bit different than the flu for me, at least. Mm-hmm. I completely lost all my sense of taste and smell, like, entirely. And I think one of the reasons it really wasn't that difficult for me to, like, go get the vaccine, and you brought up the military, or somebody was in the chat brought up the mandate for the military to get the vaccine. Well, I was in the United States Air Force. Anybody who joins the military, you get vaccinated. There's no protesting it. You don't get to, like, tell your CO, I'm not going to do this. It happens in basic training. You stand in a line and you have no say, and you just walk through, and they have vaccine guns, and they just jam them into your arm, and that's like every person in the military.
But this was a totally different type of vaccine, a new of its kind, right? The mRNA, there was nothing like that before. They've never injected that into humans. We were basically a test dummy for it. I believe. I don't know what's going to happen 10 years down the road, 15. But the other thing I can say about the vaccine is that I have very close friends that are in EMS, fire captains, stuff like that, and they are blown away at the amount of younger adults with myocarditis. They said that specifically a couple of my buddies that are, top line EMS, that they would come across it maybe once every few years. And they said that it's all the time now. in younger adults. And that right there, I don't know if it's correlated to the vaccine,
Yeah.
but time will tell. But that was one of the big things for this election. That immigration was another thing for me, a huge thing. Being in California,
Right.
just seeing the amount, and I get it. Everyone wants a taste of that honey, right? I get it, but at the same time, California is ranked number one in homelessness, and we are just funneling billions of dollars into illegal immigrants.
Well, I mean, you have to imagine though that we have a huge population, so that's automatically going to probably put us higher in that ranking. But I don't know if is that still number one percentage wise, or is
Yes.
that because we have the most people?
No, it per I don't know if it's per person. Maybe you are right there, but I think that's like comparing. That's like saying, you have like a diehard red state, like whatever, and there's still more registered Republicans in California than there is in that diehard red state, right? So it's one of those statistics. Yeah, you probably are right on that note.
Can I ask? Okay, so with the border policy thing and the immigration, I don't really see. I mean, I feel like there's some pretty far leftist people that are just like there should be zero deportations. No one's existence in this country can be illegal. That's not my personal stance. I really think that if you are an undocumented immigrant and you come here and you harm an American citizen or you commit a bad crime, then you should probably be deported back to your country. But I think there always has to be a standard of due process, for even if it is someone who did a bad crime or harmed an American, I still think that the due process should happen. And I think that has been just wildly skipped over, is that due process, where it's been confirmed so many times now where it just really, really appears that, especially in places like LA, that some of these, ICE agents, which I honestly think of them, a lot of them are just like Proud Boy type people in masks, their only criteria is literally just like, hey, that person looks Hispanic. Let's go grab them. Like, these people aren't going through the court process to prove that they're actually an undocumented immigrant or something. They're just getting grabbed by masked people off the streets. And many times this separates like a father or a mother from their child or from each other. It's just, that doesn't look right to me. I'm like, this looks extremely wrong. This doesn't look American. And they're not getting due process, which I think everybody is supposed to get in this country. That's how I feel about that.
Yeah, I can agree with you on some of that. But I'll also say this: that's a lot of speculation. I mean, I think a lot of these, they're calling them snatch and grabs, whatever they're calling it for ICE, right? I think they're targeted. I don't know those people personally that are getting taken, so I don't know their criminal history. I don't know if they even are criminal. So that's a lot of speculation from you and from me as well. But
Right.
I do know that a lot of them probably are bad people that are getting deported, and it's not just Hispanics. My wife is Hispanic, and my kids are half Hispanic. I'm white, but I'm a firm believer that I agree with you on that point. If you are a hardened criminal, or if you've hurt somebody, whether whatever it be, yeah, the due process part. That if you did a heinous crime, if you murdered somebody or caused severe bodily injury to somebody, I don't think they should get any due process. I think you should just pack their shit and send them packing, because
Well, see, that's the due process though, because that's what proves a crime. Like,
if they have a
like,
criminal
my
history.
wife's a criminal defense attorney, and I've learned a lot from her. I've watched her argue cases and all this stuff, and she's a criminal defense attorney, and so when someone is accused of committing a crime, you're charged with a crime, that needs to then go through the court process to be proven through evidence, or to a jury to make a decision to actually convict someone of that crime. Otherwise, it's basically just saying someone can accuse you of something and you don't actually get to have that proven that you did or didn't do it in court or in front of a jury of your peers, and someone just decides that you're now a criminal without it being proven in a court of like American law. You know what I mean?
But if a person, so let's say that like, we'll use an example. Somebody was charged with something, right? They're out on bail, posted bail or whatever. They're not cuffed yet or whatever, or detained or in custody. That's different. But if you've got an individual that, say, is here on a work visa or is here on a student visa or is here and showed some intent of doing things the right way, sure, give them some due process. But if you snuck in here under the radar and you're in here causing havoc, I don't think that we should be using our tax dollars to give these people representation. I don't think that they should get any due. I don't think they should get anything. If you
How would
did
we know
not,
they're causing havoc though without the due process? You know.
that's why I'm saying that this is where the speculation comes in, because I don't have intelligence. You don't have intelligence.
Right.
We don't have any intelligence on these people, right? So there's got to be a lot of them that are bad, but also, have you seen the numbers of self deportations that have occurred in the past 6 months?
I haven't. I don't think so. I imagine it's fairly high.
It's around 1.2 million.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
That's the last number I saw. That's very high.
that's a lot of people. I'm sure don't want to have what's happening to a lot of people in these mainly blue cities happening to them, and that just kind of makes sense to be a basic human response to me. Like, oh shit, I don't want that to happen to me. So
Yeah, and that's the other problem, is that it looks bad because it's LA, it's whatever, Sacramento, it's all these blue cities, Chicago, but that kind of falls back on the leadership for declaring sanctuary cities or sanctuary states. They've said, come here, you're safe, and it's like, dude, there's federal and there's state, right? So you're bringing these people in, telling them they're going to be safe, but the feds come in and they're going to do whatever they want, and you're not going to stop them. And it's sad. It is sad, and I do agree with you that they may be separating families, but these families, these are adults that took that risk and a known risk of doing that, and it's sad, and I have empathy for it, but at the same time, I mean, man, and I'm no professional on this stuff or anything, you know what I mean? It's just, it sucks to see it in some instances, but at the same time, I don't know who these people are. I don't know what they could do to people. I don't know what their backgrounds are, and it is kind of a sad thing to see sometimes, but.
hey, I brought my wife in here real quick. She, like I said, she's a criminal defense attorney. She asked to talk on this issue. So
Okay.
Can you hear me,
Yeah,
Lisa?
yeah.
You there? Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I'm here, and I'm on my lunch break from court, and I have dealt with, I don't do immigration law specifically, but any attorney who is dealing with people who are charged with a crime has to understand at least enough to advise on immigration consequences, because it even applies to U.S. citizens. So that due process is extremely valuable, because it's basically it's your chance to get separated. Like, there's people who, if they are convicted of a crime involving moral turpitude or violence, then they're gone. I mean, that's the game over. And the immigration courts, the big problem for them is they've been absolutely underperforming in terms of how they process people. And that's been an issue. Like, any immigration attorney will tell you this one. It's like the weights, and it hurts the people that are genuinely trying to get their papers and be here legally and be on the books and pay their taxes. They end up in this crossroads where they can't do it. Like, children have ended up in this situation because their parents will get taken and they're left behind, and then they don't even get to talk to an attorney. And it's kind of fucked up. So I've my feelings on it. I think that if somebody is a serious danger to Americans, they shouldn't be here. Absolutely. That should be a situation where they go bye-bye. But we have to kind of separate the people. And I think that some of it is, we've relied on immigrants who come here and then they get underpaid under the table. And the farmlands and a lot of restaurants will take advantage of this. And then they take advantage of that, and those people just stay off the books because they're getting by day to day. But if we actually crack down on, hey, give these people a pathway to citizenship, then those businesses would have to adapt without losing their immediate access.
Then they'd be documented, and they'd be citizens, and they'd have more bargaining power instead of being able to be taken advantage of. One of the things too is, it sounds like, talking about the process for dealing with immigration court and stuff like that, is it's so backed up and clogged up. You would think that, why wouldn't maybe one of the things that they could have put in that big, beautiful bill, could have been like a huge amount of funding to really like beef up the actual immigration court process so that people can actually like so there are enough judges and attorneys and locations where people can go there and actually have due process and whether and have it be determined in a court of law whether or not that they have committed something like a violent crime or a bad crime and whether like my wife said moral turpitude and they should actually still remain in this country or not. But like I said, as it stands, it's just there isn't that due process. Like a lot of these people who are actually even trying. I don't know if I've seen a lot of these videos too, where they're actually showing up to immigration court for their immigration hearing. And then as soon as they leave the court, there's ICE agents waiting in the court hallway that just detain them. So those are immigrants who were trying to do the right thing, trying to go through the right process, and they still get snatched anyway. And that some of that stuff just seems extremely unfair to me, right? Like just as a human being, seeing that happen to other human beings.
Well, and I'm bothered by this Timu ICE nonsense where they're like basically recruiting far and wide for ICE. Because I met an ICE agent when I was down in Southern California, like working on the border. There was ICE, there was Customs and Immigration, and it was like you had to be going through this entire process, and it meant something. It's kind of like imagine if there were like these industries where you have to work really hard, like go be a doctor, go be a veterinarian, and they're just like, okay, put your name on a list and you're in. That's insane to me, and it makes me wonder if the people who've been working for ICE for years are frustrated by it because it's like it used to really be a big deal to make it into that industry, and nowadays it's kind of like I'm just not sure. Nathan, I don't know if you noticed, but check your comments. You just joined. Hi, how you doing?
Oh, what's up, Carlos?
So like just to comment on what you said about the big beautiful bill, if they would have put some funding in there to beef up immigration, representation or the process itself, put some money into it. But out of all honesty, there wouldn't be such a flood of this issue if I know we've had immigrants coming in illegally for decades, right? Decades. Right. It didn't just happen over Biden's 4 years, but a huge chunk of it did. So if there would have been some emphasis on some type of border protection and closing it and just trying to do better, but they didn't. They did nothing in their 4 years for the border. Up until the last 6 months. Then they tried to say, oh, look at numbers are down. It's like, cool, but what about the last 3.5 years? So now we do have a flustered and jam-packed immigration system because
I'm not going to bullshit lie and say that the Biden administration was strong on immigration. They were not strong on immigration, and that did
it's self-inflicted
end up becoming a problem. That just didn't really see that as much of an issue for some reason, and then it obviously became an issue. But I think for multiple reasons. Like I said, one of the reasons is a huge lack of funding for due process for immigrants, for immigration court. And like I said, it's just gotten to this point now where people are just too many people have accepted just getting rid of the due process and are kind of looking the other way at what to me seems obviously just really targeting brown people in blue areas. And saying that they're an illegal immigrant. And then some of these people, you don't know where they go. They don't go to like a court and have some sort of due process. They built that alligator Alcatraz. I mean, I don't think, first of all, we should have something that even resembles a concentration camp in this country. I wasn't a fan of Guantanamo Bay. I don't think that our country should be having places like this that basically torture people. That just feels wrong and it feels un-American. Like I said, but Biden was weak on immigration. Obama was pretty strong on immigration though, and I think even a lot of Republicans could agree that Obama was a lot stronger on immigration. He deported a lot of people, but he did it through the due process. He did it through the courts, and he wasn't just sending out ICE agents to get rid of people. And he deported a lot of immigrants, people that didn't need to be here. But I think he did it the right way.
Did he? Because there wasn't as much focus on it at that time, right? There wasn't people out rioting. There wasn't all these protests. It just happened under the radar, right? Everything was
Right.
hunky dory.
Yeah, it
So
was business as usual. I do know that Biden did try to get that bipartisan bill passed that would have overhauled immigration, and I think it was too little, too late. I'm torn because it should have been somebody's focus for sure, but there were also things like the pandemic was still going, and then it was trying to bounce the economy back. So I don't want to sit here and make excuses for the guy, but it's not like he did nothing the whole time. He just didn't do enough, and then it got crushed because some people that were going to vote for it, it was like pretty well supported, and then all of a sudden it wasn't.
well, I mean, the mainstream media. So, like when these so-called caravans were coming from South America, right? When they were coming up through Mexico and stuff like that, they weren't really giving the full story. And I know that there's left-wing media, there's right-wing media, but I did see other news sources. They were handing out Biden Harris T-shirts at the border. It was true. They were doing that, and Biden was telling them to come to America. That's legit. He made those statements. And then Harris, went and said stay. But that when was that? What, 2 years in? Do not come to the United States. That caravan that was coming. She's like, do not come. Do not come. She told them, do not come. Right. But it's like you said, too little, too late. That bipartisan bill. There was some other stuff that they were trying to wedge in there that was a lot of money for other countries that didn't make sense. And
Yeah.
I don't know if it would have helped. It obviously didn't happen, so it's speculation once again. But
I'd say a lot of one of the complaints I see from the right about the left is how the Democrats seem to do a lot of, giving our money to foreign countries and things, and I think this is also one of the things that is, huh?
I got to cut and run, but it was good talking to you guys.
Okay, all right, I'll see you when you get home. What was I saying? Oh yeah, so a lot of people like right now, a lot of the MAGA crowd, the America First people, I see them being frustrated with Trump because of what the emphasis he's putting on all these other nations, trying to do things with Ukraine or Israel or Russia or, trying to annex Canada, all this stuff, a lot of time and energy and taxpayer money spent on these things. And I actually, I hate the term America First, not because I hate America and I don't want America to be first. It's because I know where that term comes from. And it comes from like white supremacy type political movements. But I actually do believe in like the isolationist view of America First. So instead of sending a ton of foreign aid to other countries, while we're actually, like all of us in this country are struggling in some way or another, actually putting America first and putting money, instead of sending money to foreign countries, putting that money back into our own country and giving it back to our own citizens and putting it into our own infrastructure, actually putting America first, and that may sound selfish to people in other countries, but I don't honestly care about that. I'm an American. I think we should be focusing more on our American problems in America than other countries' problems. That's how I feel about that.
yeah, I agree. It'll never happen. Right or left, they're always gonna, put their hands in other people's cookie jars.
Yeah.
It's irrelevant. It'll always happen.
It's just frustrating, It's frustrating.
Oh, I agree.
I feel like, put on your own oxygen mask first, right? That's
Yeah.
we just seem to fail to do that as a country a lot.
But yeah. So I mean, that's the thing. Like, things are crazy, man. There's so much division in this damn country. People are. It's off the chain.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate and sucks to see it, but I mean, what are we gonna do? We're
Right.
just everyday people, man. There's nothing I can do about it,
Well, I think this is honestly more of literally this type of thing. You're right. I'm left. We've had a whole really good conversation where we're able to potentially sort of agree to disagree on things, not insult each other, not go into that whole like the super far right or left mindset of I have to be right and you have to be wrong. I think people need to start doing exactly that more with each other, even if it's just, not live, not on a camera, just people on the left and the right who aren't aren't like so extreme, just realizing that we're still Americans, we're still all Americans, and like you said, there's been so much division and so much division forced on us. And I think no one's done that more or worse than Donald Trump personally. He has this way of getting people to think the way he thinks, and he came onto the scene basically saying, "Screw all the Democrats, screw the left," and then a bunch of people just got on board with that, and a whole lot of like families were changed, relationships were ruined, family members that don't talk to each other anymore,
Yeah,
don't
but
attend family events, and
but
it's
that his attitude to that truly didn't really start until after he got elected and was being just the witch hunt. I mean, look at the information that's came out from Tulsi Gabbard. Are we going to deny that? Are we going to say it's not real? The intelligence on Obama, basically creating this Russian hoax, and the guy. I mean, Trump's old, right? He's old school. He probably obviously took it personal because it was against him. But I think that's when he really started weighing heavy in on his divisive side.
right.
When
So
they
is it okay though? Then do you think, like, wouldn't you think that the president of the United States should probably have a higher standard to how they, use their emotions or react emotionally? Like, if you're going to run for the president of the United States, you probably need to have some pretty thick skin. And I got to say, it wasn't just after he got elected that he was using very divisive language, in his 2015 campaign run, even in all of his debates, where he is just not even just talking to Democrats, but he just came on the scene insulting everybody, like so many of the people that ended up in his cabinet, and he like did not have a good relationship with him in the past. Like JD Vance really didn't used to like Donald Trump and called him all kinds of horrible things. But I think once he got to the point of actually becoming president, I think it would have been better for this country if he dropped his own personal like feelings and didn't like feel like now he then had to just get some sort of personal revenge on the people that didn't support him or talk crap about him. But it's like, well, okay, yeah, we're the citizenry. You're now the president. I think you should rise above that instead of inspiring your followers to want to carry out your own personal revenge on the people you don't like. That's what I feel like Trump
but
attitude kind of is.
but from a different point of view of it, you got to look at it this way too. The guy was constantly attacked his entire first term, right? And impeached twice.
Mhm.
So how is he just going to sit there and not go low when they go low? They impeached him over the Russian so-called Russian collusion, right? Mueller had that big long report that he did, and what did there was nothing. There was nothing there, and they
Well,
impeached
wasn't
the
the
guy two
Mueller
times.
the Mueller report like didn't it also state that there was Russian interference, but they didn't necessarily say that it was specifically Donald Trump?
I think so.
Yeah.
And but I think the Democrats they had the House at that time, right? Or did they have the Senate? I don't remember.
Yeah, I don't quite remember either.
But they took that and they ran with it. You know what I mean? They took it and ran with it and pushed it and impeached him in whatever point, in the cabinet that it happened. And
Mhm.
it's just like to see that and I think that's what pissed off a lot of Republicans and conservatives and MAGA side, to see them constantly attacking this guy who won the election, and trying to basically illegitimize their vote, from something that was just created from ashes, that wasn't even legitimate. As far as from the intel that I've seen that Gabbard's came out with, and which the MSM is not really covering, they're trying to, hide it, which it's a big deal. That for me, that's a big deal. I mean, you're a veteran. That's a big deal, man. Like to have that type of thing created to
Yeah.
manipulate,
Well, I
the
think
people.
so I think a lot of politics has really honestly come down to like vibes. It doesn't really matter what side you're on. So people on the right, especially people who support Trump, really, really, really like Trump for a bunch of different reasons. They like him as a person. They think he's funny. They think he's charismatic. They actually like him as a person. They see him like that's our guy. Well, I can tell you, the people on the left, like that's like Obama for us, you know. And so it wasn't Biden. Like me personally, I don't give a crap about Biden, you know. I wanted Harris to win, but I wasn't like that is my person, you know. I'm full like wholeheartedly behind this person in every aspect. And so I think with the Tulsi Gabbard coming out with, you know, this new information, or what she says is new information about Obama and Russia, the timing of it is one thing, you know. For a lot of people, it really feels like when they made that announcement that they were basically going to just bury the Epstein files, that I think they thought a lot of their base would just kind of move on with them and they wouldn't have to explain that. But I think they underestimated like a key point to why a lot of people wanted to support Trump, is because he was supposed to uncover and expose this huge ring of child predators. And you know, basically the promise from the right was that it's going to expose all these leftists and Democrats. And then I think what a lot of people saw, even people that supported Trump, were, well, crap, it really seems like you could be a part of this here too, man. And it was a bad look. And then they just started doing that thing where they flood the zone with all kinds of information. And then that thing about Obama comes out. And then when you just look at how many times Trump has just seemingly needlessly attacked Obama, I think it's fair to say that Trump has just always had it out for Obama. Now, I have reasons that I would suspect, but I think it's just obvious that he has been. So it just really felt like, oh crap, there's too much attention on me because this Epstein stuff. What do I do? What do I default to? I got to put the spotlight on Obama. I got to go after Obama. I got to get a Nobel Peace Prize because Obama got one. You know, it's just, Trump seems weirdly obsessed with Obama. And I'll be honest, a lot of people on the left think it's something having to do with, you know, Trump being racist and not being able to handle the fact that Obama was so well loved and liked, and that he made fun of Trump at that stupid White House Correspondents' Dinner right before Trump ran. You know, I've even wondered if Obama regrets doing that, but I think something about that just really stuck. Something about Obama has always just really stuck with Trump. And so it seems to me like it takes the punch out of whatever information Tulsi Gabbard has, because of the timing, and because it just seemed like yet another thing to attack Obama for, to distract people from paying attention to something about him, you know. And that's how I feel, and I know that's how a lot of people, you know, that don't support Trump, you know, feel about that as well. That doesn't mean that whatever that information is that Tulsi Gabbard has is absolutely false. It just means that it seems ridiculous timing, and it just seems like it's something to distract from the Epstein files.
Yeah, no, I can see that point of it. I'm gonna hold Tulsi to a higher standard, and I think that obviously her job isn't to release Epstein files, right? Mm-hmm. She's not. That's not her. That's Bondi. That's Bondi's side. That's that whole other side of it, right? So when Gabbard came out with this information, I think that she's been working on it since she got in her position. And when is a good time, right? That you could sit here and you could say there could be at any point in time with any spotlight on any politician, somebody could come out with information. They're going to say, "Oh, it's smoke and mirrors. It's a cover up. They're trying to take away from the importance," right? Mm-hmm. And I can see that as you know, from my perspective of maybe thinking that on certain other times on other things and situations. But I truly believe that Tulsi's doing her job in the right way. I've always liked her, even when she was a Democrat, always liked her. And I think that whatever she brought to the table is very, very relevant and is not being covered enough. But I also, at the same time, I think that this Epstein thing is a lot bigger than we all think. And yeah, I think there's a bunch of dirt, man. I think that,
you know what, maybe the administration should release all the information they have on Obama and Russia and the entirety of the Epstein files, right? I mean,
but how is that related?
Well, they're the two, like, I don't think they're not directly related. but those are the two big things that
Of
like,
importance. Yeah.
you know what I mean? Yeah, like the two big like people on the right are like, we want to know what's up with this Obama Russia stuff. And I know a lot of people also on the right are like, well, what's going on with the Epstein files? That's a
Oh yeah.
like
I'm the
even
same way.
Dan Bongino and Cash Patel, they made their names podcasting, talking about the Epstein files and how they're going to get released, and that was so much of what QAnon was, you
Yeah.
know. And
And I
so
think
it seems like weird to the left in a lot of ways, where a lot of people on the right seem to sort of not really saying much about them, what appears to be an obvious cover up of the Epstein files, you know.
yeah.
And I know a lot of people that supported Trump really supported him for that being one of the main issues. And you also just have to think like, there's that people in the argument like, well, if why didn't Biden release the files? Well, that's because the files were under the jurisdiction of Florida, and Pam Bondi was the Attorney General of Florida during Biden's administration. So they didn't even have access to the files. And then why do you think Trump gets in office and he hires Pam Bondi and then also Cash Patel and Dan Bongino, who were the two loudest voices for releasing the Epstein files, you know? And it just feels super obvious that he had something to do with it. It was very clear he was friends with Jeffrey Epstein. He's made tons of personal statements about, you know, inappropriate things about, you know, young women and women in general. And it's a bad look that I just know if Biden had acted the same way Trump did about this Epstein stuff, the MAGA side would have crucified him, you know? They would have absolutely crucified him. And when it's Trump doing it, it's a lot of people just kind of trying to act like it's not happening, you know? And
Yeah.
I don't like that. I don't like that obvious double standard there, you know? And you'd think that like people are like, oh, well, you know, Bill Clinton's probably in the files too. To me, I don't care. For me, like I said, I'm not loyal to like, especially politicians. I don't care who the hell is in those files. If anybody, you know, participated in the acts of, you know, harming children, especially in the ways that are described or talked about, I don't care who they are. They should get consequences for it, you know, and I don't think they shouldn't get consequences just because I supported them at one point or voted for them, you know.
Yeah, no, I fully agree with you. I think that, I mean, some people disagree, but I think a DEAD PED is a good PED.
Yeah,
If Trump's on that, if Trump legitimately is on that list and he had, like you said, if he had any involvement with anything in that aspect, I feel the same way about that too, in that regard as well. So it
I'd say
is.
we get all the PDFs out of here, man.
Get them all. Yeah, no, I've got
Yes,
two daughters.
all of
I've got two daughters, man, and I
Yeah.
I agree wholeheartedly. And that's the thing. Like it, like you said, Bondi they were tied up in Florida, right?
hmm
And then when they asked them to release a certain portion or all of the court records, right, or whatever Bondi requested,
Right.
and then they're withholding it again. They're
Right.
protecting both sides. Who they're protecting specifically, we may never freaking find out.
Right.
But I do want them to release it. I want to see what it needs to be uncovered. It all needs to be declassified.
hmm
It needs to be known and published to the American public, man. Like we need to decide for ourselves, right? Who's the real enemy? Like, and the politicians, they're not all of them, but the majority of them are not good people on both sides. They're corrupt. They're lining their pockets with cash on our dime. They're living their lives with no consequences. They're not struggling on a daily basis like us average Americans. And
Yeah.
it
Like I
sucks to
think
see it.
like a right and a left politician that I think are just horrible. Like I can't stand Ted Cruz and also Nancy Pelosi. You know, I just see them equally as garbage for this country. Like Nancy
It's-
Pelosi, freaking all her insider trading and all that crap. Like that's so corrupt, you know.
What's her net worth now? Like,
It's like 400 something $million or something like that. You know, it's like almost $500 million. And so that's clearly wrong. You know, like they're using like AI programs to basically track Nancy Pelosi's trading patterns so people can get rich because she has inside information. You know, it's just wild. I don't think that politician. I don't think people should be even going into politics and become politicians for any reason other than to help the American people. But if they're going in to get rich, you're not going to be a good politician. Like, you'll probably be a perfect politician for the sake of a politician, but you're not going to be good for the country.
Yeah, and that's one of those things. Like, I'll use an example, like Bernie Sanders. I was always a kind of a fan of Bernie. I truly believe in his heart he was for the working class, even though he's made some cash in his time too. Not as much, right? Not as much. And he's been in there for a long time. And to see him get just the way the DNC did him, they did him dirty. I think it was intentional, because I think that guy was, and he may have been the one that would have uncovered the shit. You know what I mean? He may have been the one that said, "Screw all you guys. I'm 80 something years old. I got nothing to lose. I don't care." Like, and that guy was just shadow banned, dude, by the DNC.
Yeah. Shadow ban's a good way to put that, I think, actually. Yeah.
And that was unfortunate to see, and whether he would have won or not, but nah, it's crazy, man. There's a lot of crazy things going on, and I do hope they finally release that damn information sometime or another. And yeah, I don't know, man. It's crazy.
Well, hey, man, thanks for calling in, dude. It's been really good having a conversation with you. It's like I said, nice and civil, and I appreciate that. That's exactly what I'm looking for by doing these live streams, just to have a normal conversation with someone on the right, and we don't, have to just try dunking on each other and know every fact ever, but just remember the humanity in other people, even if we're on opposite political sides. So
likewise. Yeah,
thanks for calling in, man. I'm probably going to pop off the live stream too here anyway. I try to keep them under an hour so I can repost it, but I'm trying to see if I can go live at least every day or every other day for a little while. So yeah, cool. Thanks, man. Appreciate the conversation.
Have a good day, bro.
All right, you too. All right, well, thank you guys all for watching. 8.3K likes, that's cool. That was a great conversation with that gentleman. Someone on the right that we disagree on stuff, but clearly there's also a number of things that we did agree on, and I would love to have more of that overall in the country. I think that's the direction that we need to start going in, because we're just so locked into certain things that I, as a leftist, I'm never going to change my mind on, and certain things that people on the right are just never going to change their mind on. But instead of focusing on those things we're never going to agree on, I think there's a lot more things that can be agreed on. So again, thanks for watching my live stream. You can follow me on here. You can check me out on YouTube, Nathan the Creator. I'm on Blue Sky. You can search Nathan Blaze. Thank you all very much. Bye.